Hey, what's going on there, everybody? So in today's video, we're going to be doing a seat repair and heated seats on a 2005 to 2009 Ford Mustang S197. This will probably also work for a 2010 through 2014 model as well, since they're pretty much the same car, just different body. So right off the bat, I'm going to mention that the reason why there's a fan blowing into the passenger footwell, for those of you that are already probably know what's probably going on, because this is a common issue on the S197, is that I'm getting water that's actually leaking out into the passenger footwell now, because my gutters are actually clean, but the problem is that I think the cowl clips, the grommets are going bad, so now I'm starting to get water leaking into the passenger footwell. And right now, if you just heard that, we actually have a crazy storm going on out there, out in Houston area. So yeah, I can't stream, I can't do anything on my computer right now. I disconnected it just in case the power goes out. I don't want my computer getting screwed up, so I thought this was a perfect opportunity to start working on putting heated seats on my car, you know, to keep me busy. So anyways, yeah, you want to make sure that you fix that grommet problem, because if you don't fix that and you keep letting water get into the cab, eventually it could screw up the body control module if it hasn't already on my car, and you'll have all kinds of weird electrical problems go on into the car. So yeah, it's really vital that you get that fixed. Common S197 problem, go figure. Thanks, Ford. So yeah, we're going to take out the driver's side seat. We're eventually going to do the passenger one too, but for right now we're just going to focus on the driver's side seat, just because we got that tear right there. I've had that tear for since I've owned the car, actually, for about a year now, and I thought it would be good to change out the leather. There's a guy out in Houston area actually that makes the seat covers, remanufactured anyway, and it looks pretty much OEM quality, about factory same. So I went ahead and gotten that, and we're just going to be replacing that part of the seat. Passenger seat looks good, no other tears otherwise. So yeah, there's 2 bolts holding in the driver's side, and actually 4, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and then we got the plugs that are for the airbag, and as well as the electronics for the automatic seats. You probably should disconnect your battery before working with side airbag seats, but YOLO, I don't really give a shit. Typically they're not going to go blowing up in your face, but they have the potential to, but it is what it is. So let's go ahead and get right into this, guys. Alright, so now that I've got the seat in my room, this is the heated seat combination here. Comes with about 4 or 5 zip ties. It gives you about 4 pads for both the seat and the backrest here. And then you get your wiring harness, comes with 2 fuses. One's a relay actually, and then the other one's a fuse. Instructions, which are basically fuck all. I can barely read those. And so that's to plug up to the heating pads here. Now the reason why the switch is torn apart is because the interior lighting of my car is red, so we're going to be soldering off these purpley blue LED lights and soldering on, I'm hoping that a regular little square SMD LED will fit onto this without me having to get a through hole type. The switch actually looks a lot like that actually. So as you can see, it's blue. I don't want blue lighting, I want red lighting. So we're gonna be desoldering those and putting red LEDs on the circuitry. And that's exactly why I've torn it apart. Other than that though, it should be pretty straightforward. Now we're going to disassemble this portion of the seat cover. We basically got to get every single leather piece off of the vehicle to basically mount the heated seats. It's funny because these cars actually came in heated seats, or the option came available once 2008 to 2009 had happened, but unfortunately this is 2005, so that's why we have to rig it up ourselves. So let's go ahead and take off the leather and see what we're working with. All right, so I've managed to get the bottom portion of the seat off. There's the factory one, and this is the remanufactured one that a company made for me. So on this one, it's pretty damn identical. The only thing that's different about it is there's carpet that's seating around on this side, whereas on this side it's all leather. Now I'm a little anal about that. I wish it was kind of factory in terms of this was also carpet to match it, because now my passenger seat is not going to match with the driver's seat, because I didn't really have to get a passenger seat remanufactured because it's still in pretty good shape. So that kind of sucks. It is what it is. You won't really see it once it's actually in the car. I about guess that nobody would ever know the difference between the two. If for whatever reason they've labeled U8, or I think they meant to put V8, maybe to color code it, because obviously I think these were only found on the V8s. I could be wrong. These may have only been on the these could have also been on the V6s, the premiums in any way, because technically this is a premium pattern. So anyways, as far as the foam is concerned, the foam is it's in pretty decent shape. The only thing is that it's kind of torn in each corner of the seat because of when you're sliding around in the seat, eventually the tears start happening. I'm wondering if I can fix that, because as you know, the seat will start getting more flat. How you can, or how it's originally supposed to be, is obviously it's supposed to be more towards the center, like so. It's supposed to be more erect, but as you slide in and out of the seat, it starts to want to droop that way. So I'm hoping that I can repair that. Maybe they sell some kind of seat foam repair that'll glue this back upright like so, and fix that tear. Otherwise, if I can't fix it, it is what it is. Just leave it and continue onward. So now we have to take the leather off of the actual back part of it, but our heating pad will sit right up in between here, and then I think we have to fish out a hole through the foam though, to wire the wiring harness through the actual seat. So we'll get there. It's coming along slowly. All right, so I've gone ahead and installed, at least on the driver's seat portion of the Mustang, there is some hog rings that sit up in here. There's about 3 of them, and then there's also 3 up here towards the headrest, but you don't have to take those ones out, just enough for you to pull it up and get the pad up underneath the seat cover. So you remove just the bottom portion of the hog rings right here, and then they actually go through this fabric piece right here. The reason why there's a cutout in the heat pad here is for that same reason, is to be able to feed the hog rings through the seat. And fortunately for me, the cutouts, the templates for the cutouts are in the correct spots for this car. They look like this when you first get them. You basically do not want to cut these little red ribbon cables right here. That's actually where the power feeds to heat up the brackets here. You want to be cutting in the middle as so. Cut out a small little gap, depending on where you need to cut it out. For me, I just needed to, on all my seats actually, I just need to cut out this bottom portion right here that's closest to the pigtail. So yeah, that's exactly why you see there's a cutout there. Now, for the seat, it's going to sit, go grab it here. It's going to sit, how am I gonna do this? There we go. So the pigtail sits towards the back, just like over here. So this is the front of the seat is right here. So I've also cut it out there as well for the hog rings. So your hog rings sit right there, and it's gonna be a little difficult, but there's also one up in there as well as over here. Now, a little trick though, if you noticed on your driver's seat, and even your passenger for that matter though, your passenger seat's probably gonna be in much better shape than your driver's, because obviously there's not always gonna be a time where you have a lot of people in the passenger seat compared to the driver's seat. So what I've done is it was actually starting to tear up in the corners right up in here in the seat foam, because of the sliding in and out of the seat. So that's expected to happen. So the seat foam is getting a little worn out. What I had done to repair it though, I didn't use seat foam actually, as a matter of fact. I don't know if this is gonna hold up, so do this at your own will and at your own risk. But I actually used, to fix the tearing, some weather strip adhesive. It's actually for gaskets. So it's called 3M Black Super Weather Strip and Gasket Adhesive. So yeah, this stuff is typically used for you know, weather stripping to keep leaks and shit out. I find that it works for a lot of variety of other different things though. I've used it in the past to patch up holes and whatnot, and I think it works pretty well on the foam, at least for this situation. You could probably even plug up some holes that you have in your seat foam. So yeah, what I had done was I just caulked it all the way up in here where the tear is. It seems to be holding up pretty well. Now it's more sturdy and erect like it should have been out of the factory. Otherwise, it was actually sagging more in that direction towards the left or the right, depending on how you're looking at it. And now it's a lot more erect and standing up, perky as it should be. And it's already have dried too, so it's pretty firm. It's almost like a glue. I don't know how well that's going to hold up, but I'm hoping that it's going to hold up a little 10 times better than maybe a seat foam or something like that. And if you really wanted to finish it off, you could probably even add a very, very small layer of super glue along the edges of this, although that might attack the foam, I'm not sure. But this seems to be holding up. Just by feeling it, it feels like it's pretty sturdy when it's dry. You could get a hair dryer. What you want to do when you do this, though, I'm going to try to do this with one hand, is so when you cock it, you just want to make sure you push it inward and get a hair dryer and start blowing down up in here with hot air. And then you take the hair dryer and put it on the cold setting, and then you basically cool it down and you know, do that for about 5 minutes, and you should be able to let go and it should stay perky like that. So onward to getting the seat pad and the hog ties now on the well, the new heating pad, and then hog tie it all together and put the seat back together, and then I'll get right back to you once that's all done and done. All right, so here's the results of the new seat cover added onto it, and the heat pads are installed as well. Everything looks pretty much factory, and it would seem that my weather strip adhesive glue to fix the foam here looks like it's working pretty well too. So it looks like it's giving it a nice erect look again. It's no longer kind of flat anymore. The way that you prevent this from happening again, so obviously you don't want to keep sliding in and out of the seat. That fucks up both the leather and it also fucks up the foam. So it's imperative that you don't slide in and out of your leather seats. Cloth, on the other hand, who cares about cloth, right? So anyways, the driver's seat is done. I've already gone ahead and pulled out the passenger side seat, and it's right here. We're gonna go ahead and pull off these covers and do exactly the same thing that we did on the driver's side, now on the passenger side. This one should be a little bit more easier to get to, only because this one's a manual up and down, whereas that one was more of an automatic seat. So in the future, I would love to get an automatic version of the passenger seat. I think most of the Mustangs are already rigged up to have automatic seats for the passenger. It's a matter of just finding the actual mechanism, the frame mechanism and the electronics to actually make it do what it does. So I don't know, maybe if there's one in the junkyard, we'll pull it out, and if the covers look like crap or the seat foam looks like crap, we can always just swap all that over. So anyways, guys, let's go ahead and pull off the covers on this one. I've already cut out the holes in the heat pad, so they should be already ready to go. I'm gonna check the seat foam on this one too. If I have to do my little weather stripping adhesive technique on this one, then I will do so. It does look like it's appearing to be a little bit flat. It's obviously in better shape though than the driver's seat was. Like this one looks like it's in pretty good shape, whereas this one looks like it's kind of leaning a little bit. So we will see once we pull off the cover. Once we're all said and done on both driver and passenger seat, we're gonna clean these, and we're gonna condition them, and they should be pretty much almost brand new when I'm done with them. All right, so this is what the seats look like now that they're all done. I went ahead and all were ready. Added the red LED to the circuitry on the switch and put the switch back together. Problem is I kind of lost the metal check balls that are actually supposed to go in here to make it click into place. So now it's more of a scroll, which kind of sucks because I don't know if that's going to affect the overall switch. I may have to find some metal check balls to replace them. It is what it is. But otherwise, the switch is ready to go. And so are the seats. I went ahead and already cleaned them. Unfortunately, it kind of sucks when you pull off the leather off your seats. They never really go back on how they looked factory, because now I got some sagging up in here, which kind of sucks. I also have some sagging on the driver's side here from when I was lifting and pulling it up to basically get the heat pad back there. But otherwise, everything went in smoothly. There was no tearing in the passenger seat foam, so that's good, only because obviously we won't get people on the passenger seat very often, so the foam is actually still in really good shape. Yeah, So now what's next is I have to make a cutout in the center console here. So where the cup holder is, so it'd actually be on, I think that's the driver's, no, okay, passenger side. So on the passenger side, we're gonna be making a hole for the switch. The switch is gonna go like so. If I can bring it over here, so it's gonna sit something like that. I've already marked a hole, or marked the spot in which I'm gonna drill. I'm not really good with measuring, so I'm gonna try to do this very carefully and try not to botch up the plastic, because these cars are a little difficult to get and acquire in the junkyard. I do have a spare in the garage in case I do screw it up, but it's kind of chewed up compared to this one. So, but that is that. So I guess what we're gonna do next is we're gonna drill into that, put our switch in, and yeah, and then we're gonna get into the electrical and wiring it up to the car and testing it for the first time, I guess, and hopefully everything goes smooth. So I'll get back to you guys after I've drilled the hole and put the switch in. All right, so we've gone ahead and wired it up, although I've already put the carpet back in and I wasn't even thinking, though it's pretty self-explanatory what I did, so you don't really need to see a whole lot of the wiring that I've done. I try to make this look as factory as possible. So right now, this is the front of the car. So the two pigtails that are going to be running to the driver's seat are right here. This is your airbag and power seat. So here's most of the wiring harness right here. It's basically, this is the stock wiring harness, that's just that. But here's the wiring harness for the switch that we're going to be drilling into the center console. And then this is pretty much, the switch goes into this plug, and then a bunch of wiring, and then it splits off in that direction and in this direction for the pigtails for the seats, so that way they will get heated, and then it runs off into the car. Some people put this into the fuse box, but I actually wired it directly to my battery and stereo. So here's the relay right here. This will actually work just perfectly. I try to make this look factory, of course, so I attached it to the factory pigtail, so that way this isn't moving all over the place, and the center console will hide this so you won't see it. And then it's shooting off that direction towards the dash. We'll move around. Let's see. So it's coming up under here, and then the black wire I actually grounded right here. The black, that's for my ground, because remember we had a red, a white, and a red, white, and black, right? So the black is going to be your ground. I grounded it right here. It was a pretty good spot for the ground. And then the white wire is actually for my accessory turn on for my stereo. So technically speaking, if my stereo ever took a shit, I guess I wouldn't have power heated seats, right? But it's, you know, heated seats aren't that important. So I mean, I thought it would work just perfectly fine having it turn on when the stereo turns on, so my heated seats would turn on and off when the car is powered on and off. So that would be my accessory wire. So it's hooked up to the stereo. Now for the red wire goes, it's a little dark up in here, isn't it? Let me go ahead and turn on my light on my camera and we'll come right back. All right, that's a lot better. All right, so again, here's my ground wire, that's the ground. And then up in here again, my accessory wire is going up in there to the stereo. Then I've wired the red wire, which is this, up in here, tied up in through here. The red wire feeds, actually the red wire is this one right here. I was actually mistaken, I'm sorry. The red wire is actually feeding all the way down here, or sorry, no, it's about right here in the passenger carpet. Here it is. So here's my red wire. Then it's feeding up into the plastic tubing here, out through the firewall with my amp cable. And these are my amp stereo cables as well for the subs. So it's going out through the firewall. And if we come outside, from the firewall. So I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but there it is, all the way down there where my index finger is pointing. If the camera will focus down there, I don't think it's going to. You see my red amp cable down there, same area where the firewall is. That's where my red cable for the heated seats coming out. Then it wraps behind the battery up through here, and then it connects to my positive lead on my battery, and thus giving me power to the whole heated seat system. And that's pretty much it for the wiring. It wasn't really too hard. And I have gone ahead and taken off the old fuse locator because it was just a crappy plastic inline fuse. We went ahead and put a waterproof inline fuse in it instead with the 15 amp fuse that it came with. So that way it's waterproof and I won't have any issues if it gets wet. Then I went ahead and electrical taped the whole damn thing. That way it stays insulated and it stays great. Because we don't like having colored wires all over the place. We try to make this look factory if we can. I guess the more factory option would have been to actually wire it up to a the fuse box right here. You'd want to probably do it into the front one just because the front fuse panel or fuse box has higher rated fuses located in here, and you might even be able to get away with putting it into an empty slot, whatever that may be. You'd have to consult to your owner's manual as to what fuse diagram it does what and so on and so forth. I didn't want to do it that option because I realized that wouldn't look so clean having a wire coming into the fuse box, so I thought it would be a little bit more cleaner just to do that on the battery instead. And that's pretty much that. And so now the next step is pretty much just getting all the interior trim back in here, vacuuming the carpet. I went ahead and cleaned the carpet. It took forever to dry. It literally took me about, I don't know, 4 or 5 days to get the carpet to dry. When you live out in Texas, the humidity is terrible, so it takes forever to have a fan air dry it. So thus, we're gonna vacuum it out, put the seats in, put the center console in, and then we're gonna try out the seats, I guess. I'm also very iffy about these heated seats now that I'm thinking about it. I've done a little bit more research on them, and because they're Chinese crap, some people have been reporting that they'll either burn a hole through the seat or outright short and burn the pad, which could be very problematic for a car fire. So I gotta be very vigilant on that and make sure that these are good to go and have an extinguisher on hand, I guess. Otherwise the whole car is burning down. Anyways guys, I'm gonna go ahead and vacuum this shit out, put the seats in, and then we're gonna give the seats a test. Oakley dokley. So where I mounted the single switch piece design, I went ahead and mounted the switch right here in this plastic covering that basically covers the e-brake adjustment. So I went ahead and cut out a hole through that, and I basically mounted the switch through there. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass to get to when you're kind of driving, not so much for passenger. But I thought it was the cleanest method, and if you ever wanted to revert back to taking the heated seats option out, all you have to do is just find this piece on eBay or at the junkyard and basically just replace it, so you don't have a gaping hole there. But anyways, the way that I mounted this, again, I'm going to explain how I made the switch work. So the white wire, I tied it into the stereo accessory wire. So anytime that the stereo is on, switch comes on. Anytime that the ignition is turned off and the stereo then turns off, the switch then turns off, because that's what an accessory wire is designed to do. Anytime there's no more power going from the ignition, then it cuts power to both the stereo and the switch, so therefore you don't have any power drainage issues. That's the way that I did this. You could probably wire it a different way, as long as if it's not a 12-volt constant, I believe it is. Don't quote me on that. I'm not really good with my electrical. I just looked this up on the internet. So if we turn the key, obviously, to the on position, there we go. The stereo should then turn on. There you go. And with it, the switch, and you can see my red LEDs that I did, my custom red LEDs. They used to actually be blue, although it's not really shining too much right here, so I may actually have to get the see-through hole ones. But if we take the key out of the ignition, stereo turns off, and with it, the switch should then turn off. And there it goes. So that way, if you leave the seats on by accident, you won't have that problem, and you won't have a power drainage issue, and you won't have to jump start your battery. Now, my review of the seats after using them for about a month, that's why I've been putting off putting this video out. I've actually done a series of these little videos for about a month now, and the reason why I haven't uploaded it just yet up until this point is because I had to kind of feel for the seats. I haven't really reviewed the passenger one, but I feel like the passenger one doesn't get nearly as hot as my driver's side one. Driver's side one works pretty damn great, but it's nowhere near a factory. It's nowhere near as factory comfort, if that's the best way to explain it. When I was in a 2020 Mustang convertible, it was a EcoBoost, I think, and that one had heated seats. Like, those things worked great because it was a factory option, right? That, and it's a newer car, so those seats worked great, and that's why I wanted to get heated seats for my car. But after seeing the aftermarket version, they just don't work nearly as great as a factory option. I'm just gonna tell you that right now, guys. Like, they're great, but they're not perfect. I find that even though the heating pad is literally sitting like right up in here on the driver's seat, I only ever really feel the heat up in my lumbar area, at least on these leather seats. But the actual seat itself, though, the actual butt portion of it gets pretty damn warm and cozy. So yeah, anyways, I think they're okay for the bang for your buck, I guess. I'm kind of gimmicky with them, but I mean, as long as if I have the option and it gets piss cold out here, well, at least I have heated seats now, and I can say I have that option and a more premium-ish Mustang, right? Even though I took out all the chrome accents on these cars, or the aluminum accents on the dash. Anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns on how to do this on your car, if you're running into any issues, I could try to help you with the best of my ability. Again, I'm not really too good with electrical, but I can try with the best of my ability. Hopefully you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next S197 video. Peace out.